You are now listening to the voice of horror.
Lock your doors, bolt your windows, and turn off the lights. Make sure the kids are safe at home, cause you're headed to the Night Watch Zone.
Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are on a Tuesday night, and we're not doing our Battle World series, but instead going back to Haddonfield, and we're almost completing, I should say, our great Halloween debates, talking about Halloween Ends tonight. And I'm very excited to have the awesome Cody Leach back with us here. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm just ready to hear these scores that are going to be given for Halloween Ends. That's what I'm waiting for, man.
It's going to be interesting.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. For you guys that are here, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. A blanket hello to everybody that's here. This has been a fun series, and we are literally one movie away from completing it, and then we'll be revealing the ranking of the Halloween franchise based upon score, and not just my thoughts or a bias, but a community thing. You know, so many of you guys in the audience are channel members, so many awesome guests that would join us. So this is really cool. And what better way to go up to 78 by talking about ends right before it. So we see you guys in the chat. Hey to everybody. We got Sarah in the chat. Jason, what's up, Jason? Spoof, Melissa, Gina, all of you guys, thank you for being here. And Sarah, thank you for being here, helping to moderate. We got Julie here, helping to moderate. We appreciate that. It could get a little dirty tonight, you know, talking about ends. There's a lot of people on both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying?
No, not this one. Everybody's in unison.
I know, right? It'll be funny to see what happens in like 20 years to see where that gauge goes. Will it go? What do you think? Do you think it's gonna, as time goes on, it'll get more positive, or do you think it's gonna get more negative?
I don't know. See, we're in a weird little spot where I feel like specifically on Twitter, like everything is revisionist history with movies. Like every time there's a new something, there's a whole group of people that come out of the woodworks and they're like, "Are we ready to admit that last one that everybody hated is actually the best?" And so I don't know. Will you give it 2 or 3 years and they give us another Halloween movie? And especially if it's safe, if it's just a run-of-the-mill Halloween film, I guarantee you're going to get people to say, "See, all you people didn't like Ends, that tried something new, and this is what you get, this safe bullshit."
Right.
I mean, you get movies like Halloween 3, even H2O to a certain degree. These movies that are like not well received at first, it feels like they get their due over time. And I do think there's a lot to like about this movie. It's not like, you know, borderline objective trash. You know, it's not one of those movies like Freddy's Dead where it's like, come on now.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's not one of those. I think it's one of those where if you let, you know, time heals all wounds, I guess.
True.
And so people that had their hopes built up and were really disappointed, I think give it 5 or 10 years and they'll revisit it and be like, you know what? I don't hate it.
Yeah. It's not the worst film in the world. You know, I've seen that in comments many times. This was absolute trash, a piece of shit. David Gordon Green destroyed the world and all the Halloween fans. It's like, okay, calm down. It's not that bad, is it? You know, so
they need to give David Gordon Green a Star Wars film and give Rian Johnson a Halloween film and just watch the internet implode.
Oh my God, man. That's right. You're absolutely right on that. So, guys, we're going to be scoring Halloween Ends by 10 categories. And just to give an idea of the 10 categories for you guys that are new to the chat, like Eddie in the chat saying new to the chat, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Hope you enjoy this. The 10 categories that we are going to be grading it upon is either going to be the directing, we've got the kills, we've got Michael Myers himself, we've got the storyline. Now we've got, for a talking point, the best scene, and another talking point that we possibly might spin the wheel on is the worst scene. Those will not be scored, those two. But the other possible scored categories will be the final girl, the characters in the film, the sound design, the mask itself, which is important, the cinematography, the mythology, the atmosphere, and the it factor of the film. So we're going to be spinning the wheel, and the wheel will decide which categories we're going to talk about, which, in my opinion, and it's been really fun all throughout these streams, it kind of evens the playing field because there's been some movies where certain categories would definitely give it an advantage of a high score.
Hmm.
Also had the reverse happen. We'll have something come up that, ooh, that's going to be a critical point that'll give it a low score. So I think ultimately, when we get the ranking of these 13 films, I think not only is it going to be a lot different than what I would have done myself, but I think it might surprise just about everybody that is
Hmm.
going to hear about it. So, okay. Um, Also, just to say in the chat, we got Gene in the house, and Gene is always in the chat, always in comments. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you, Gene. Seriously. All right. Um, and we've got haha saying, Cody, say what you want about ends, but it's better than Pet Cemetery 2. Ooh, Pet Cemetery 2. I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it's much better than Pet Cemetery 2, but I'm not a Pet
Mhm.
Cemetery 2 fan.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm a Pet Cemetery fan,
oh,
but
absolutely.
the second one, I remember seeing it and just kind of like, yeah,
That's one of those
wow.
movies I avoided for decades because back when I was a kid, like whatever dad said was the rule. If he said this movie's awesome, it's probably awesome. If he says this movie sucks, you can take it to the bank, it probably sucks. And then after I started to develop my own taste and realized there's a lot of movies that I like that my dad doesn't like and vice versa,
Hmm.
that was one of those movies that I finally watched. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, yeah, dad was right.
Gotta listen to Pops, man. You gotta listen to
Hmm.
Pops. And also, before we start spinning the wheel, and Sarah has put the link in the chat, and of course, I'm
Thank you.
sure all of you are already, but if you haven't, subscribe to Cody's channel. This is the link. Make sure that you subscribe to him, support him. He's absolutely awesome. One of my favorite content creators, and just so generous, not only to his viewers, but so many people in the movie space, the horror space. So definitely make sure you do that. And thank you, Sarah, for putting that in the chat. All right. I think I've caught up pretty much to you guys that are here. Thank you so much again for joining us. And let's pull up the wheel. Hey, what's up, Gold? All right. So, what we're going to do, obviously, Cody being our guest, we're going to spin the wheel. He's going to lead off the discussion first,
Hmm.
and then we'll see what we get. Okay. So, there's the wheel with our good friend, Corey Cunningham, right in the middle. Um, Shout out to Christine. All right. So here we go. Let's see what is the first category. Oh, that was so close. I was curious.
Oh.
The directing. The directing of the film. So obviously David Gordon Green directed it. Cody, what do you think of the directing in Ends? And what would be the score? And I haven't mentioned that yet, and I will. We're going to score this 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the best. It can't go lower than 1. It can't go above 5. We usually have people in the chat that want to do something different. Only 1 to 5, but we also can use 0.5. So you could do a 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, and a 4.5. So what do you think about the directing, and what's the score you want to give it?
I would give it a 3.5. I don't think directing is the issue with this film. I think
Okay.
David Gordon Green's a very good director, and he's obviously got his start with a lot of comedies. which you don't necessarily always get to see somebody's directing style in comedies. Usually that's just kind of up to the writing and the performances to kind of pop.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started to get into things like Joe with Nicolas Cage, and then obviously you get this trilogy here. We won't talk about Exorcist, but he got. I think he did a really good job at, working together with his cinematographer and with John Carpenter and having this vision for what these movies are going to be. I think he gets pretty good, sometimes really good performances out of his actors. Halloween Kills is the only movie I think that slips quite a bit. But this one, yeah, I think, I mean, it's visually consistent with the other two films. And I like what he was going for with some of the visual storytelling. Some of it's a little incoherent if you don't expect it or you don't quite see what's going on. Like whenever you have Michael, you know, touch Corey Cunningham, and like there's a lot of things that aren't spelled out for you in this movie where it's just like, did he just like imprint on him or what happened? And then like whenever he kills the guy and he kind of has like that little shaking thing, like I kind of like the fact that he doesn't necessarily go to the over explaining side of things. He kind of lets what he decides to shoot be the storytelling there. The only fault that he has is kind of trying to combine two films, but I think that's more so with the writing and just kind of what they decided to do. So directing wise, I think he does a pretty good job. It's not the best of the three, but it's consistent with what I would expect from him.
Okay, we got a 3.5. And let me just ask this of you too, because you touched upon it. And one of my great friends, my brother Steven, from Craven Something Scary, we joke each other about this. But when he touched Corey, like when they met the first time in the sewer and they're locked eye to eye, what was your understanding of that scene? Was there a transfer of evil, like a magic beam type of thing? Here's my evil, or was it the type of thing where it was like almost? Well, I'll let you answer it, and I'll tell you what I think.
When I first saw it, I wasn't. I almost assumed that he was like imprinting on this guy so that he could go off, like almost like Freddy versus Jason, go off and get the blood count or the body count in the blood, and then that'll rejuvenate me or bring me victims. And even whenever he kills the guy and kind of seems to power up, I was still staying with that. After having seen the film a couple of times, I think they're going for more of a thing of like evil recognizes evil. Like you had Michael, who had this darkness that was inside of him for unexplained reasons when he was a kid, and something just awakened it one day. And I think he just recognized that in Corey, somebody who is seemingly innocent, nobody would ever suspect would do something like this. And then he just looks in his eyes and sees it in there. He sees that darkness.
Yeah. That's how I looked at it as well. I thought it was kind of like kindred spirits, and Corey being gone through everything he had gone through, looking into the eyes of such an evil force, in a physical being, of course, was kind of like the door is now through that door and let all the darkness in me kind of be free, so to speak. So that's how I got it too. But I know a lot of folks on the internet, a lot of people, a lot of friends I have, a lot of content creators, they kind of debate that as far as, well, Michael gave his evil to Corey. And I think that maybe in a thematic way, but not so much like there's evil inside of me, now I'm going to throw it into your body. I just don't see it like that, because it kind of goes against everything that's been shown in this trilogy, and of course in 78. Like yes, he's evil, and he's like doing things that are somewhat fantastical, but he's a man. He is a man. He was born on Earth. There was no rituals that were done to him, and forget about the curse of thorn and all that type of shit. But he's a man. So that's how I always looked at it too. So, awesome stuff. For me, the directing, I think David did a great job as far as what he was trying to do. I appreciate the effort. I think that he really wanted to deliver on this film, to stick the landing, so to speak. I agree with you that it's visually very consistent. As we know, they took so much time painstakingly to set up shots, especially of Michael, making sure the lighting hits the mask correctly, making sure that things can be seen, no shaky cam type of shit, all that. But when you swing for the fences, sometimes it doesn't always, it doesn't always hit for everybody. And I can agree with that, although there are elements of this film that I do really enjoy. I would say for directing, I would also give it a 3.5. And I think that that's a fair score, kind of in between, because they tried to do something fresh. They tried to do something where there's a lot of symbolism that was started in 2018.
Hmm.
And I appreciate that. But I do think um, they kind of lost their way a little bit. Like you said, that's really the writing. But, you know, David obviously being the head of the table, I'll give him a 3.5. So, all
There
right.
you go.
Cool stuff. All right, let's get ready to go to our next category. And before we do, Denisha's in the chat too. What's up, Denisha? Good to see you. Elm Street's Last Brat is in the chat. What's up, man? Good to see you, brother.
Great name.
It is one of the best, man. I love saying it too. Sarah saying 75 people watching, 33 likes. Yes, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It helps us out. We would appreciate that. 7-Up's in the house. All righty. What's up, man? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you've been doing good, brother. Hope your summer's been good. All right. We got Tim in the house too. Tim Jenkins. All right. Okay. Next category. I'll be starting this one off. Let's see what it lands on. I'm I'm telling you, man, it's a little nervous here. It could go downhill real quick. Oh, there it is. God damn it.
Ooh, the
Shit.
behemoth.
All right. So let me just say this. All right. Full disclosure. And Michael, it's landed on this category quite a few times throughout these streams. Here's what I feel about Michael. I think James Dew Courtney is amazing. He is absolutely, I mean, seriously, what he did in all of these movies was just fantastic. This one, the same. The problem is that there's not enough Michael, in my opinion. Now, I'm not saying that we needed another 30 minutes of him. I've been pretty vocal to say, even if we just had at least one, if not two, more killing sequences, they didn't have to be totally extended, but like when he kills Nurse Deb, that's a great scene. I love that scene. It's shot well, it's done well. If he had at least another one or two of those, I think that would have been great. Maybe a shot of him stalking, that type of thing, things that we saw in 78. So there's not a lot of Michael, but what we do have of Michael, I really enjoyed. I really did. Even the scene like you referenced in the sewer where he hulks out after he does his kill. It's almost like, and I think David said this, but my feeling on it was like the idea of killing, of seeing a life being extinguished, gave him that adrenaline rush. It's kind of like, that last burst. He was an
Mhm.
injured man. He was like a wounded dog, and it was kind of like he was in the sewer just waiting to die, like an animal goes to the forest. But the killing, it gave him a purpose. You know what I mean? So I really enjoyed that scene. So for Michael, what we saw of him, I would give it a 4. I would give it a 4 because I just think that James, his performance is just so amazing. But I do wish we had more of it. What do you think, Cody?
So Michael, for me, is one of the biggest issues with this film
Mm-hmm.
because he feels like he's shoehorned into his own movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you never
Agreed.
want your signature killer to feel like a guest in his own film.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love what they're trying to do with Corey. We haven't gotten there yet. So there's a lot of like almost pseudo Michael Myers in here because he's wearing his mask and you get a lot of the kills and the stalking. It's Corey doing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically Michael, he's barely in the film until the third act, which is my least favorite part of the entire movie. And
Mm-hmm.
throughout the rest of it, there's interesting things that they're trying to do, but it feels like they don't really commit or give enough of any of it. So as we were just talking about with kind of what we interpret with these, different scenes in the sewer or whatever, like they never really go far enough to even give you a full conclusion of what they think he's doing in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he imprints onto Corey, okay, well, what does that mean? And then you
Right.
get especially the scene where he kills and soups up. Like in the theater, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. So like kills
Right.
actually rejuvenate him. That makes sense why he was so unstoppable in the last film, because he was laying waste to the entire town. And so now we're going to soup him up for this big bad, third act showdown or whatever. And they don't end up doing that. So what you end up getting is they just kind of snuff Corey's story out unceremoniously. And then you get the yet another Laurie and Michael showdown where Michael is, barely present. And so I would give it a 2 out of 5. As somebody that, I feel like it's very important to nail the signature killers of these movies first. I feel like they really did Michael dirty on this one, especially with the scene where Corey just goes and just suplexes his ass and takes his mask and leaves him there. And then he tries to give like that signature sit up in like the background. And it's like, don't you do that. No,
right.
No, lay back down.
Right. Right.
James Jude Courtney is my favorite actor who has portrayed Michael. And I felt like this was such a shame for his final outing, for him to just only have this to do. It just kind of felt like he got the short end of the stick.
Yeah. That scene, the thing about it is the way he got the mask. Like, even if they had a physical confrontation and there was a lot of wrestling and stuff like that, and he just kind of grabbed it and ran, I would have been okay with that, because Michael's mask has been taken off by a bunch of people, and a lot of them being ladies, no disrespect, but I'm just saying, he can outpower a lot of these people, and he's outpowered some of these ladies like Lindsay or Lori, and they still can get that mask off. And I think that the way it was done, I just totally didn't. I remember I saw it in the theater. Like, what's going on here?
I saw it in the theater at like a midnight screening the night before it went public. So it was just me and a couple people that worked at the theater, and we're sitting there watching it. And I was already kind of emotionally numb because I had a lot of turmoil involved with the Halloween franchise and the Halloween fandom at that point. And I remember seeing that scene, and I just laughed. I was like, "Oh, they're gonna be so mad! Oh, this is gonna be fucking great!"
You're like, these fanboys are gonna riot. They're gonna be in the street. True enough, man. All right, so we got you down for a 2. And real quick too, in the chat, and we got a couple people jumping in with super chats. I'll get to a couple of these real quick, because we can't get to all of the comments, but we'll make sure we get to these. Super Tender's coming in. Thank you so much, brother. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And he's saying Halloween Ends 10 out of 10. Wow. All right. Saying hi, Night and Cody. All right. Sweet. Very, very cool, man. And we got Super Tender coming in again saying, Cody, I'm the one guy who bugs you in Messenger.
You got to be more specific.
I was just about to say, you probably got a bunch. That's awesome. Thank you so much, brother. Our good buddy Ben coming in also. Thank you so much, Ben. Seriously, that's very kind of you. Saying, gentlemen, what a fantastic team up night. I appreciate you like a friend I've known my whole life. Hey, well, thank you so much, man. You're really, really cool. And thank you for always being so positive in the chats, on Facebook and social media and stuff, man. It's really, I appreciate that a lot, because there can be so much negativity in this space. And Cody, obviously, you know what that's all about. And
I do.
it's good to see positive folks, man. It really is. We can disagree on stuff all day, and that's great, because that's conversation. But as long as everybody's cool with each other, keep pumping out stellar content, brother. Well, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. We're trying to stay above water. Check out that Pet Cemetery video, Ben. I want to know what you think about that, because not Pet Cemetery. I'm sorry, Silver Bullet. That's one of my newest videos.
Love Silver Bullet.
Yeah, I know that's a favorite of yours. I did because some people have issues with it, or they'll, pop off about the werewolf or whatever. So I've been doing this video series called Why You Hate, and kind of addressing or discussing some of the issues that people have with films. So that's my newest one, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that. Sarah, thank you so much for continuing to put in the links for Cody's channel as well. And she also gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Sarah. Jeez. I appreciate that. Sarah, you're all right, man. Thank you. All right. So, and I'll be getting to some more of the super chats too. And I see some other things popping up too. Well, let's jump back to our next category, and let's see what the wheel gives us. All right. Oh
Ooh.
shit! Wow. Yep. Here we go. All right. So Cody, when when we talk about the story of Halloween Ends, A to Z, how it is presented
Mhm.
to us. What do you think, and what's the score, 1 to 5, you want to give it?
Oh boy, this is the most complicated category discussing this
Mm-hmm.
film because
Mm-hmm.
on one hand, I love the bold swings that they take. I love the
Yes.
fact that they tried to make something different.
Mm-hmm.
I especially love the fact that they were given direct homage to Christine, which is one of my favorite Stephen King stories and movies from John Carpenter for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is that this is the third movie in a trilogy, and you don't do that when you're trying to wrap up a story. So,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people have said, if this was, if they did the Michael versus Laurie, finished out that whole thing, and then this movie came directly after that, I think people would actually really be warm to it. But they try to do everything at once, and so I'm going to give it right there in the middle. I'm going to give it 2.5. I
Okay.
think that the thing that they're trying to explore about just the inherent evil in the town and evil recognizing evil and the story of Corey Cunningham and how all that goes down, like that's really interesting stuff that's unique to explore within the world of Haddonfield.
Right.
But then you have the whole follow up to Halloween Kills, and everything regarding Laurie and Michael following up that film just makes no sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael lays
Mm-hmm.
waste to everybody. He's unstoppable. He literally gets the shit kicked out of him in the street and then stands up and lays waste to an entire group of people effortlessly,
Mm-hmm.
and then just
Mm-hmm.
goes to go hide out in a sewer for the next 5 years or however long it is.
Mm-hmm.
People say he was injured, and it's like, it didn't look injured to me. And then you have Lori, who Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, like I have this, it seems like this is the only thing that she has thought about for 40 years.
Right.
And then Michael slaughters her daughter, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'll get over it. And then just
Right.
goes to go bake pies. And it's like, no, that's
Right.
not consistent with the character that you've given us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the way that they, I was actually really invested in the Corey stuff, but they cut it off so unceremoniously where he goes to kill Lori and he just gets killed really quickly, and then all of a sudden the real Michael comes in, and that whole third act just kind of feels stapled on. It's like, well, we
Yeah.
got to have a scene where Lori finally gets one over on Michael, and it's just that's probably the least satisfying way you could do it. Like the
Mm-hmm.
fight that they had in Halloween 2018 is
Yes.
infinitely more satisfying than this final battle. And how many
Mm-hmm.
times can you really satisfy us with the final confrontation between these two characters? This is like the seventh time.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just a total mixed bag. I really wish that they didn't have so much time to sit around and second guess themselves during COVID, because
Yeah.
I don't believe for a second this is what they initially intended. I know they've said that up and down. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe it. I feel like this is something that they sat around for a year and they said, we got a better idea, and they tinkered with it, and then they ended up with being able to spend too much time on it versus whatever they were initially going to do.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. Too much time, it makes you just tinker and tinker and tinker, and next thing you know, you're messing it up. I
Yep.
totally agree with that. Okay, we got a 2.5. My feeling, and to piggyback off what you were saying too, first of all, well, we know the marketing was crap.
Hmm.
Now they're trying to hide some things in the marketing, but at the same time, they're trying to say we're going to get certain things that we didn't, this ultimate battle. And as soon as you said it, I was shaking my head because 2018's battle was light years better than this one, And I think that had they just gone with the marketing, maybe they could have been kind of like not so specific, but don't promise this is going to be the greatest pay-per-view match of all time and all that type of stuff. I think people would have the finale still was too quick, the fight. But I think a lot of people went into this just expecting so much, and especially if you've been watching this trilogy, probably expecting a better fight than 2018 because this is
Hmm.
the end of a trilogy, and it was nowhere near it. It was way too short. I agree that swinging for the fences is great when you got a franchise that's damn near 50 years and you're trying to do something different. And this movie is one of the most unique in the franchise.
Hmm.
I appreciate that. I really do. But if you're going to do that, you've got to make it fit the puzzle. It has to make sense, and you nailed it as far as after Kills, they didn't it doesn't feel like it's a true continuation after Kills based upon what they set up. All the stuff in the recreation scene with the house and Frank's character and all these different things, they kind of dropped that. Will Patton was barely in Ends, which I was a little upset about as well.
Mhm.
This whole thing with Corey, if Corey had been introduced in Kills, that would have made it a little bit it would have made it better, and you wouldn't have had to spend as much time on him,
Yeah.
and therefore spent a little bit more time on Lori. Explain why she has decided to let go of this obsession. I mean, I know that was part of the story, that she got some counseling and all that, but when you're just watching the movie and you take it for what you see, you're thinking to yourself, how can she just be so happy-go-lucky?
Mhm.
You don't get all those little things. A lot of us that are super nerds about it, we hear about that and we put pieces of the puzzle together, but we shouldn't have to do that. So
Yeah.
that's an issue with the story. That's an issue with how it was put together. Um, Michael, again, the way they depicted him, I appreciated it. And he has more screen time than he does in 78. But the difference is in 78, he was more active. He
Mhm.
was stalking, he was being pursued by Loomis and so forth. In this movie, they're giving you Corey, but like you said, there was there was no great ending to his story. He goes to kill Lori. That was a cool little moment, but she just takes care of it and then he unalives. And it's like, what? Wait a
Mhm.
minute. Like, I was following you for this movie, and I think there were some good moments with his character, but it just didn't land. So to me, the story is such a jumble of things that maybe looked good on paper, but didn't realize itself on the screen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the frustration of Ends, because it could have been a lot better with just a few differences, a few tweaks here and there. I think it could have been a lot higher up in the ranking. But for me, for story, I'm going to give it a 2. I just don't think that they were able to realize enough of the good that they were trying to do. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give that a 2. All right. That was a
Good deal.
tough category, man. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
When it came up, I'm like, oh, here we go.
It was bad, man. All right. In the chat, Sarah has hey, that's awesome, man. Sarah has a channel member anniversary, 19 months. Sarah, thank you so much, seriously, for all your help, being an awesome friend, moderator, supporter, not only of this channel, but this community. Thank you for all that you do. Seriously, saying here for a good time and a long time. Oh, I like that. That's all right. You're all right, girl. Thank you so much. Much love. The Disney nerd is in the house saying, "Oh, look, it's Cody Leach, and I'm Uncle Sean's chat bitch." What?
Kind of an inside joke. So I did a Q&A a couple of weeks ago, and my buddy Charles popped in, and I called him Chat Bitch because he was just there to kind of like direct the chat. And then Disney Nerd
Yeah,
came in, and he's a very active moderator on my buddy Sean's channel. So I was like, oh, look, it's Uncle Sean's Chat Bitch. So now it's like that's like his term of endearment now.
that is awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for being here, man. I love that, the Disney nerd. Well, look, for you guys that have been doing the super chats, we appreciate it. And also Sarah's channel member anniversary. So let's play a quick clip in honor of you guys. And sometimes when you don't know how to handle a situation, you might let anger take over. And in my opinion, there's one legendary actor that knows how to show it, and this is what it looks like.
Here. We're fine. It is not in the file. It is not. You son of a bitch!
There we go.
Nice
The
edit.
late great George C. Scott. All right. Okay, let's go to our let's go to our next category and see what we get. Oh man. Oh shit. Okay. All right, so this is a talking point.
Mhm.
Okay, we won't be scoring this. Worst scene. God. There's 3 that come to my mind, but I probably will kind of piggyback to, I think the worst scene was when Corey takes the mask.
Mhm.
Again, when I was in the theater, it was funny. I was there with Coriander, and both of us were so excited to see Ends. I was covering it on the channel, which of course all of us were doing. So for me, there was so much invested in it, as I'm sure it was for you and so many others in the horror space. And I'm sitting there, and it's a weird movie, bro. It's a weird movie. And when we got to that part, I was thinking to myself, hey, Michael did his little power up thing. He's getting stronger. That's going to be kind of a thing we're going to see. As he kills, he's going to get a little stronger, a little stronger. So I knew he wasn't at full power. But when he got taken down, at first I looked over to Corey and I was like, was that Michael that threw Corey down? And she's like, no, Corey threw Michael down. I was like, and I said it out loud. I was like, what?
Yeah.
It just irritated me so bad. And not only that, and I get it. That's what they were aiming for, is, to show that Corey was, I don't know, being elevated. But he's sitting there, you're just a man in a mask. You're just a man in the mask. I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. What are you doing?
Mhm.
So, anyways, that's my worst scene. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the ones I was toying with in my head is that one, or which even kind of sets up how weird that scene is, where Corey's getting bullied by the high school band geeks earlier on in the
Yeah.
film, and it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't add up. But yeah, I got to go with that one because that's the one that stands out as just like, what? Why did you execute it that way? Like, if you wanted him to get
Yes.
his mask, that's not the way that you do it. That is not
No.
gonna fly. And so
No.
that's easy answer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the way you want to do it, because obviously you're showing him weakened and all of that. Okay, fine. But don't totally disrespect him. He doesn't have much screen time as it is as well. So it's like you can't do all that and then at the end of the movie expect us to be like, "Oh, okay, now he's fighting Lori. Yay." You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't add up, man. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Um in the chat too, our good buddy Scott saying Michael's a 3.5 for me. It reminds me of Wolverine in Logan, old and broken. That's exactly what I said once in a video. It seemed like that's kind of what they were going for, but of course, Logan was done so much better.
I was gonna
You know what I
say
mean?
blasphemy.
It
Wolverine would
was,
make mincemeat of this Michael.
I know. It's like he actually still had a pair. All right, let's go. Let's see if we can get a scored category here. Oh my God. Yeah, there we go. Yep. Oh wow. We're
Hmm.
getting some good ones here, man. Okay. Characters. All right, so I will, let's see. Mm. Yeah, I'll start this one off. Characters, wow. I think that Lori was okay. We talked about how she's able to kind of go from one direction to another, from kills to ends. Um Maybe I'm just allowing that whole explanation of her getting help to not totally give her a low score on this, but she was all right. We didn't get enough Will Patton though. Corey was fine as far as what was going on. Rowan did a great job in the role. He did what they were asked him to do. And I did follow a lot of it, except for a few moments, like we just mentioned, the band geeks, and of course, taking the mask, and of course, the way he ended
Mhm.
things. It just didn't really make sense. Allison, though, was an interesting character because when I first watched it in the theater, I was pretty much on board. She's trying to live her life, she's trying to move past the trauma and all that type of stuff. But on more recent watches, I've kind of been more in the middle with her as far as how she was depicted, some of the choices that she made, especially her argument with Lori. Like, I get it. There's still a lot of pain there. There's rawness. Both of her parents are gone. Her friends are gone. Cameron's gone. And she needs to lash out at somebody. And why not do that to Lori, right? But
Yeah.
I'm conflicted on that because she also showed herself to be someone who had a lot of understanding of her grandmother, especially in 2018 when her mother was kind of, against Lori and kind of berating her and so forth. So I'm really conflicted on Allison. Um, Nurse Deb, it was a fine kill, nothing big there. And that's all the major characters. The bullies, they kind of pissed me off. They're supposed to do that. That's fine, whatever. I would say for characters overall, I'd go with a 2.5. That's where I'm gonna go. How about you, man?
I'm gonna give it a 2. To me, the only character that stands out in this movie is Corey Cunningham, and
Hmm.
they kind of shortchange what could have been a really interesting arc by the way they decide to just quickly, literally and figuratively kill off his storyline.
Hmm.
I think that Jamie Lee Curtis. This is far from my favorite performance or even just character arc as Lori. She's
Hmm.
just kind of surviving, doing her thing, trying to move on, but the movie's not really focused on her so much. It's much more focused on Corey Cunningham and Allison. And I agree with you. Like Allison, almost just as much as Corey, there's a lot of interesting things going on with her that just
Yeah.
never really feel like it actually comes to a satisfying conclusion. Like she lost her mother, she's living kind of following in the footsteps of her grandmother in a certain way, where she's revolting against what the trauma that's happened, and
Right.
she's latched into this alluring Corey Cunningham character. And
Hmm.
it sets up this point of contention between her and her grandmother, which again feels like if they didn't need to have that shoehorned third act with Michael versus Laurie, they could have paid it off in an interesting way where
Right.
she takes Corey's side over Laurie, and then Corey frames Laurie for his death out of nowhere,
Right.
and then she just runs out of the house and then gets a phone call from a sheriff and says, "Oh, never mind. I guess, Lori, my grandmother, was telling the truth." And it
Hmm.
just feels so weird. It's like that's what you
It
were building
does.
up to. Like the whole movie, I really liked what they were going for with the couple on the edge, and us against the world, and
Right.
it was really interesting stuff. And then they just kind of fumbled all of it. And every other
Hmm.
character in this movie is a glorified cameo. I mean, Will Patton's barely in it. Kyle
I
Richards is barely
know.
in it as Lindsay Wallace. James Jude
Yeah.
Courtney's barely in it as Michael Myers. So it's really just those two characters, and I just don't love the way they wrapped them up. So if they
Hmm.
had wrapped them up better, I would have been a little higher, but I'm going to give it a 2.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. We got Byron in the chat. What's up, Byron? Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying the conversation. Saying the story had more in common with Season of the Witch than the rest of the franchise. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Which of course, some people love Season of the Witch and some people hate it. When I was a kid, I absolutely despised that movie as much as anything else. It took me years before I even decided to watch it again. And then I was like, hey, you know what? It's all right. It's all right.
Mhm.
Understanding what they were trying to do and so forth. So, all right. Let's see. And Kevin saying, can you really call them bold swings when they copy and paste Christine's narrative though? Well,
Uh,
go
I
ahead.
wouldn't say copy and paste. They take a
Yeah.
few elements of it. It's not so close to it where it's like blatantly ripping it off, in my opinion.
Mhm.
It really rides the line of homage for me personally.
Mhm. I agree. I was gonna say something similar because I think, you see the inspiration. Obviously, you see the parallel between Corey Cunningham and Arnie Cunningham, and some of the themes in the background. But I definitely think it's got its own thing that they're trying to do. And I think the swing for me is trying to do that in a Halloween
Yep.
movie, because the franchise has always been about something totally different, except for Season of the Witch. So,
Mhm.
yeah. And Julie saying for the story, she's going, she said, unfortunately, 2.5, they shouldn't have second guessed themselves and deviated from the original idea of three movies in one night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the other thing that always bugged me about this too. There was for as many issues as I have with 2018 and especially Kills, I really liked how they were like framing it all as one long night, and like the
Yeah.
movies literally start and begin with like the same images with the knife and everything. And like I thought that was a really cool thing that they were going to carry through, and then unceremoniously that just stops with ends and it's just its own
Right.
thing. So that's one of the
Hmm.
reasons, that as well as Corey never being mentioned in the other two films, are the two things that make me swear, regardless what they say, that this was never the original plan. I'll
Right.
never
Right.
believe that, no matter how many people involved with this film swear up and down that it was.
I agree. I definitely think they were going to go with something totally different. And then, like you said, they
Mhm.
tinkered. I mean, to be fair, COVID happened. So obviously, it is what it is. But again, when you're trying to keep, shining up something, all of a sudden it loses its luster. And I think they had some really cool stuff started in the first two movies where the end of the trilogy could have been really, really special, and I think they just deviated way too much, man.
Mhm.
Sarah also saying for story a 1.5 as a standalone movie, sure, but as the concluding chapter of a trilogy, absolutely not.
Mhm.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Evil Alex is in the chat. What's up, man? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well too. Thanks, Paula. Yeah. It's education. Night, you need a Donald Pleasance poster behind you. I know, man. I would, man. I love Donald Pleasance, man. Loomis is one of my favorites. Scott saying, I'll give the story a 4, very different, but I wanted that. Corey reminds me of Joker and The Killing Joke. Sometimes all it takes to turn your whole world upside down is just one bad day. Yeah, that's an interesting point of view. I like that. All right. Amy's in the chat. What's up, Amy? Saying, hey, it's Cody. Yay. There you go. Weed. I like that. All right. Let's see what we get for our next category. And you'll be starting the discussion on it. Let's see what the wheel chooses. It's been some tough categories so far, man.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. The Final Girl. The Final Girl. So, obviously when we talk about this film, it's the culmination, they say, but just kind of looking at it from the perspective of ends, Laurie Strode, what she goes through in this film, and obviously the ending, what she accomplishes, if that's what you would call it. What do you think about it, and what's the score you want to give The Final Girl?
I'll give it 2.5.
Okay.
And it's difficult. Like the difficult part with a lot of these categories is like everything feels like you're only talking about a chunk of the movie because it's such a disjointed thing. So like the final girl here is by definition of what a final girl is Laurie Strode, but Laurie Strode's not really the main focus of the film. Like traditionally Allison would be the final girl here, but she doesn't really, she's never pursued. So it doesn't fit. And so kind of piggybacking on what I was saying earlier, like for all of the performances and the different variations that we've gotten of Laurie Strode, specifically Jamie Lee Curtis's version, this isn't one of my favorites because it's not, she doesn't pop off of screen the way that she does some of the others. And so here, you have a woman who's trying to kind of fake the grandma thing, trying to be the normal grandma that bakes pies and stuff like that for the sake of her granddaughter. Okay, fine. But as I said, it doesn't feel consistent with this version of the character that we just spent 2 films with. And then you get the third act, and like Jamie Lee Curtis always does a pretty good job at making Laurie badass to some degree, but Michael is so weak in this film that it doesn't feel as victorious as we were saying as 2018 did, where her and her family is triumphing over this guy that's like at his meanest right now. And ends, he just kind of feels like you could probably a breeze could knock this guy over. And so is it cool and gnarly to see her smash the knives into his hand with the cast iron pan and slowly cut in various places and strap him to a car and bring the whole town out like a barbecue to watch him get ground up, and like there's something gnarly about that that's pretty cool. But it just doesn't feel, I'm not gonna say it doesn't feel earned. It just doesn't feel satisfying in this film because it's just the movie that was advertised is the last 20 minutes of this movie that is not attached very well to the other hour and 15 minutes.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I mean, the finale of H2O is so much more satisfying. Like
that's my
infinitely.
Favorite. Infinitely. Finale.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so great because it was built up. The tension was just built upon. And Laurie in that film gets to the point where, she has a lot to lose. And then she's just like, F it. It's going to be me and you. One of us is going to go. And it works. It works. And even though there's not like a lot of like, back and forth fighting, and of course you wouldn't really depict that realistically anyways, but it's the symbolism of it all, how you feel when you see it. And same thing with 2018. It was great. There was obviously a lot of hand-to-hand, body-to-body stuff in 2018. But with this film, like you said, Laurie, she wasn't showcased as much, and they sidestepped her a lot for Corey. So when the finale came, and plus because it was so short, it just didn't feel like it was the ending of a trilogy and an ending of this whole, well, at the time, what they were saying, the franchise, this is it. And of course, we know it's not it, but
Yeah.
but it didn't feel like it. So I think for the final girl, for me, and I love this character, I really do. And we just mentioned some of her other portrayals, but I do think that she wasn't as well realized in this film, even though she had some great moments. But I agree, I got to go with a 2.5 on this. All right. Okay, 5 categories down. We're getting there. Let's see what we've got next. See if we have anything that's gonna help this film out. Oh man. Oh, that would work. There it is. Okay, there we
Will it?
go.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so for The Mask, to me, I've appreciated what they were able to do with Michael's look, the mask and so forth, James's physicality. Man, we had some rough moments in this franchise. We had horrible masks from Halloween 2 in 81 all the way up till, I'll say, maybe Curse of Michael Myers is when it finally started to kind of, look okay. I didn't love that mask, but at least it looked like Michael. It wasn't like what we had in 4,
Yeah.
with that and the blonde one in 4. And of course, we all know what happened in Halloween 5, which was an absolute travesty. The
Mhm.
Nick Cage mask, we'll never forget that. So, when you talk about Michael and the mask, I'm pretty interested in that. And I think that this mask I thought it was really well done. It's 4 years later, it's all moldy and gross, all the battle wear and stuff like that. It's not my favorite of the trilogy. Part of that, it's not because they didn't take the care. Let me just say that too. The care and the attention to detail is bar none. If that was the category, then boom, I'd be giving this super high scores because they really took the time to make sure that the mask looks right. But it's not my favorite of the trilogy, although I do appreciate it. So for the mask, I'm gonna go with a 4. I'm gonna go with a 4. What do you think, Cody, about the mask?
I'm going with a 3.5. I really like what they did with the mask in this trilogy and how it kind of deteriorates throughout the 3 movies in various ways. The 2018 mask is my favorite of all of them, the entire
Mm,
franchise. I really love the way that it looks in Kills, where part of it's burnt. I just think it's got a really mean kind of look to it.
mm-hmm,
I'm not
mm-hmm,
as big of a fan of the yellow moldy look. Like, the logic
mm-hmm.
of it, it's there. There's a consistency there, but just as a mask, like, I bought the Trick or Treat Studios 2018 replica. I bought the Kills one. I had somebody actually send me one that they hand painted and restitched themselves. That looks almost movie quality. One of my like treasured Michael Myers things that I have. I
That's
never
cool.
had the desire to buy the Halloween Ends one. It's
Mhm,
just something about it where, and it's shadowed a lot in the movie, but when you see it lit, it's just kind of this yellow, greenish, like you said, moldy version.
mhm,
And
mhm,
it's just not as cool as the others for me. Like, it's effective, it's fine, but I much prefer the others.
Okay. All right. So we've got a 3.5 for you. Okay. Real quick too in the chat, just to jump in here. Let's see what we got. Um, Corey taking the mask is definitely the worst scene. Scott, yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely agree. And we still have the link for Cody's channel in here. Sarah's been working. Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Let's see. We got Reality Exposed in the house. What's going on? Welcome to the chat. Saying I absolutely love Halloween Ends. So unique and different. And I loved Corey. As far as it fitting in with the rest of the franchise, it doesn't, but I don't care. 5 out of 5. All
Hmm.
right. Interesting. It's always interesting to hear folks that are on one side or the other of the fence. It
Yeah.
really is. Let's see. Paul is saying the worst scene was Lori helping Michael kill Corey. Uh, you know, no, well, I like I said, the ending was kind of tough for me. The whole ending of Corey. they just as soon as it happened, like it was a shock, right? When he did it. And I was like, but then there's that part of me that's like, what the hell? What are we doing? you know? So, anyways. Let's see. Manuel saying pretty sure Cody's expectation for end was low walking in. Hmm.
Yeah, it
Interesting.
was.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think Kills. See, the thing about Kills is that it was truly a roller coaster. Like there was great stuff in it, and then there was stuff that was kind of like,
Mhm.
man, I don't know. Um, so I think that that definitely kind of gave folks, and especially any of us that were covering it, kind of a feeling like, okay, what are they gonna do, man? I have no fucking clue, man. So, all right, let's go to our next category and see what we get. We've only got a couple left. We're looking for our seventh scored category. Oh, we got another talking point. All right, this will be interesting. Okay, so this won't be scored, but just your idea of what you enjoyed the most or what's your favorite scene in the film, what would that be?
Um, I mean, the concept that I liked in the movie the most was kind of that corruption of Corey. But as far as like one specific scene, it's probably where you actually get your massacres, where he takes the
Mhm,
Michael Myers mask and he gets his revenge on the bullies and the radio
mhm,
DJ and everything. Like most of your carnage happens in that little 7-10 minute stretch or whatever, and
mhm.
they're pretty gnarly. I mean, you got the good dude's tongue that gets scissored off and drops onto the moving vinyl, and then you got the kid that gets blowtorched in the face. And
Yeah, yeah,
fun fact, by the way, my wife's boss, a friend of his, was buying a movie prop, and it was that kid's body, like the blowtorch body.
yeah.
And he sent me a text. He was like, "What movie is this from? We can't figure it out." And I looked at it and I was like, "Halloween Ends." Like I immediately knew it. And so like I gave him shit for a while. I was like, "Since you didn't know what movie it was, you should buy it and give it to me." Uh but yeah, so I'd probably say that where you get your pseudo Michael Carnage, even though it's Corey doing it. I think they did a pretty good job with that. Running the
Yeah,
dude over with the car and stuff. Like it's unique. It's not
yeah.
Michael styled. It's Corey styled.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point too. It definitely had Corey's flair to it,
Mhm,
and it was gnarly, and you wanted payback. You really did, man. It was
mhm,
like these kids, they suck. Not all of them, but especially the main bully. He was such a punk. It's like, bro,
mhm.
you maybe killed this kid when you pushed him off the bridge, and you're just like, oh well, too bad. It's like that's some low shit, man.
Yeah.
For me, I think when I think about best scene, that definitely comes to my mind. If I was to pick something else, then I would probably go with the Nurse Deb scene. I think that that was, I really liked the way that was played out. As far as Corey in his mask, killing the doctor, I was like, wow, that looks so gnarly. And her reaction, and she actually was smart at first. She ran into the house, she closed the thing, she didn't trip over thin air and all that shit.
Mhm,
And she was going to call the cops. She wasn't going to play around. She thought she was safe in the house. And of course, Michael comes from behind. And Michelle Dawson, and I was really lucky to get a chance to talk to her and interview her. She did that scene herself, being put up against the wall and being held by James and all that type of stuff. It was very convincing, and it was just great. It was just great to see Michael do something.
mhm.
So that's probably, other than obviously Corey getting payback, that's probably my favorite scene, the Nurse Deb. All right, let's see if we can get a scored category and see what that will be. Let's pull up the wheel. Okay, here we go. And we've only got a few choices left. Oh, oh, man. That could have been a really good category for this film. Okay, the it factor. The it factor. So the it factor is basically the overall entertainment of the film. Like when you watch it, your enjoyment of it, rewatchability could be included in that. Just kind of like your overall um, entertainment of the film. What do you think you'd give a score for that?
Probably a 3,
Okay.
because everything involved with Corey I mostly enjoy. It's
Mhm.
just the last 20 minutes where suddenly it's like, "Ugh, yeah, I forgot this goes in this direction." So, I'm one of those people that really liked most of what they were doing there with his storyline and his character and his relationship with Allison and everything like that. It's just the Michael versus Laurie stuff that just does nothing for me in this movie.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'll give it a 3 for that.
Okay. I will agree with that. I think it's a 3. I think there's a lot. That's the thing about this film. And again, I'm going to be so curious to see how things go in the next, 5 years or decade, to see how the fans look at it and myself, because
Mhm.
again, I've totally gone opposite way on some films over the years, including Season of the Witch. But I think a 3 is fair because there's great stuff in it. There's some good scenes, some good kills. I think Corey overall as a character was interesting. I followed him up until the end. But again, there were some things that were shortcomings, including Laurie and Allison to some degree, which that was kind of a even just saying it right now, it's kind of like it's too bad because I really enjoyed a lot of what they did with those characters in 2018 and even to a degree in Kills. So I think a 3 is fair. I'm going to go with a 3 as well.
There you go.
All right. Okay. And in the chat, real quick, to catch up with some of these guys, we got Zach in the house. Good to see you saying, "What's up?" Hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying this. And hey, we got Renee in the chat. What's going on, Renee? Good to see you saying Night Watch Zone rocks. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And shout out to Renee for some of you guys leaving comments, and I get a chance to talk to some of you. And Renee, we had some back and forth that was really cool. And I appreciate you taking the time not only to watch a video because that's awesome, but to take the time to leave comments and then when I respond and you respond back. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Seriously. Very, very cool to have you here. This might be your first live stream. So welcome, welcome. All right. Let's see what we have next on the wheel. Here we go. Only a couple left. There we go. There we go. Sound design. Sound design. So, with the sound design, we're talking about the score, we're talking about the different effects and so forth. It was so funny because the other day when we did Resurrection, we noted that they had some weird effects, in the sound, like when Michael would take out the knife, it sounded like it was a damn sword. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, man, come on, because you could hear that. It's like, what's going on here? This is not that cool of a movie. But for sound design, I think they did a hell of a job for the sound design in all 3 films. Obviously, we're just talking about ends. I love the score of this film. I've got it. It is awesome. It has, I don't know, man. It just had John Carpenter. You just got to give him credit. Obviously, transitioning into more of his musical stuff the last several years. I think he's just so talented. Him and obviously his son and so forth. Um, I love the soundtrack. I love the score. I'm going to actually give this a 5.
Hmm.
I'm going to give it a 5 and bow out. So what do you what do you think, man?
I'll give this one a 4.
Okay.
For me, it's actually my least favorite score of the 3 movies.
Hmm.
Now I haven't like listened to it isolated,
Hmm.
but the previous 2 films had like specific spots of the score, specific tracks that stuck with me. Like the
Hmm.
Shape Hunts Allison in the 2018 one,
Yes.
or
Love that.
there was segments that like stuck with me where I was like, man, Carpenter, what the fuck? This is awesome. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ends didn't necessarily have that moment for me in the score. Now, as far as the sound design with like the kills and the gore effects, with like cutting off the tongue and blowtorch and everything, I think they did a really good job with that, and I think that elevates it a little bit.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and if I remember correctly, there's even some light attempts to like have some sound design involved with Michael, with his breathing and grunting and things like that. I think Nick Castle even like did some of the voiceover for the breathing here and there,
Yeah.
which That's like a nerdy detail that you would never figure out. It's not like you can hear the scene, but like, oh, that's Nick. But but I think they do a pretty good job. So like, I don't really have any strong complaints against it aside from just comparing it to the previous two.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I agree. The previous two are awesome as well. I think Kills might be my favorite. It's
Mhm.
got some really good. I've got all three, and they're just so good, man. But when I got Ends, it just had some of these themes, like the scene where he's on the motorcycle with Allison. I love that one.
Mhm.
It's some great stuff in it. It really is. And for anyone that's a fan of Carpenter's music, or if you love soundtracks, or if you're a Halloween fan or whatever, I definitely would say check it out. It's really, really good stuff, man, for the sound design, for the score specifically. All right, let's see what we got next. We're looking for our ninth category, ninth out of 10. And we only have atmosphere, I'm sorry, sound design is gone. I'm going to take that off. But we've only got kills, cinematography, and mythology that is left. All right, let's see what we get. Okay, that works. So I can take this off.
Well, as far as sound design, no, I'm just kidding.
Right. All
I'm
right.
gonna give it a 4. Here's my reasons why.
It's like we're going back in time. All right, let's see what we get here. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, the atmosphere. Okay, so atmosphere, we're just talking about the feeling in the film, the sets, the time of the year, does it feel like Halloween time, all that good stuff. What would you say would be a score you'd want to give that?
I'm gonna give it a 3.5. This one is the
Mhm.
least atmospheric of the 3 for me, which it's funny too because they actually shot this one, a lot of it in Savannah, which is right next to where I live.
Mm,
And I don't know why, like, I don't recognize any of the places that they go to in this film, but
mhm,
beyond that, for a movie that's focusing probably more than the other 2 combined on Haddonfield as a character, like, the
mhm,
effect of the evil in this town and the effect of this, Michael on the town, uh, it doesn't really feel like Haddonfield has as much of an identity in this movie as the previous 2. And
mhm,
so it
mhm.
feels a little more stock. Like, even when they're at the grocery store and stuff, like, if you didn't see pumpkins, you wouldn't swear this was Halloween season. And
Mm,
so, for that, I'll knock it down a little bit, but, like, there's some good atmosphere in some of the sequences, like, when you get to the kill scenes, I like a lot of the atmosphere you get in the scene that you were talking about where they kill the nurse, where
mhm.
I think it's like maybe out next to a pool or something
Yeah,
where she clicks the light on and Corey's got the bag over the dude's head and stabbing him.
yeah.
Like there's an eeriness that they do accomplish here. And as they kind of slowly ratchet up the madness in Corey, I think that the movie's atmosphere kind of tracks along with that too, with the way that they shoot like the motorcycle scenes and the way that he looks and the color behind him. And
Mhm.
they do a pretty good job with it. So 3.5.
Yeah. All right. Okay. And also, Julie, thank you so much in the chat. Just reminding folks, and yeah, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Much appreciated. Thank you, Julie, for keeping track of that and throwing out the reminders. That helps out. For atmosphere, I would say this is tough, man, because there's some really good stuff in here that I liked. Like I again watching it in the theater, with the lights off and it's big screen. Like I felt immersed in a lot of it. But I will say I agree. Out of the three, it's the least atmospheric, which is weird. It's kind of weird to me because obviously we've got the same director, we've got a lot of the same folks working on the production. um, Maybe it was because of the direction of the story, maybe, but I do agree there's moments where it doesn't feel as much of a Halloween movie as 2018 and Kills,
Mm-hmm.
which is really odd to say, and I'm really conflicted on that. Some scenes were great. I think the sewer scenes were really well done. It
Mm-hmm.
definitely felt eerie, creepy, dirty, grimy, a little claustrophobic. The look of it was great. Some of the scenes where you saw some of the trick-or-treaters, that was okay, but that's kind of par for the course. The Nurse Deb scene, I thought that was a really great scene, the way they kind of turned up the atmosphere and the tension when she found Corey killing the doctor. But overall, I probably would have to give it a 3. It's the least. It has the least. I guess I would say atmosphere that I gravitate towards of the
Mhm.
3. So I'm gonna actually go with a 3 on that, which is weird, because I think that that's such a strong suit. We've already done um, 2018 and Kills, and I think both had atmosphere come up, and it was a really strong category for those films.
Yeah,
But I just think with this one, they just kind of took a step down, which is kind of too bad. But what are you gonna
agreed.
do? Yep. Okay. Well, that was the ninth category. So we're looking for the final category. So all that we have left, this is really interesting, man. This could really change a lot of things. Cinematography, kills, or mythology. Wow. All right. Let's see what we get. And I'll be starting off this one. Oh, thank God. Because that would have been bad. Cinematography. Okay, that'll be our final category. You mentioned it earlier. I think there were some great shots in the film. When Corey was on the bike, again in the sewer, Nurse Deb. I also liked the radio station scene. I thought that was really, really well done. And they actually cut that kill of what's her name, Darcy.
Darcy the Mail Girl, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, why'd they do that? It
Yeah.
looked cool from afar. And I'm like, man, that would have been so cool to see. Maybe they thought they didn't want to give Corey too many kills. I don't know, but um it's too bad they did that. But I liked how they shot that scene with the DJ and all of that. Um the junkyard, obviously that scene was great. I think they did a great job with the cinematography there. I would give cinematography for the film, hmm, I think I'm gonna go with a 3.5 on that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3.5. How about you?
I was thinking the same exact thing, 3.5.
Okay.
And a lot of these last couple of categories are really just kind of in comparison to the other 2 films. I don't know if that's totally fair or not. Within the trilogy, I think it's fair, because
Mm-hmm.
they're kinda supposed to be one coherent look and story, but yeah, there's segments of the movie where you see a lot of really good camera work. You've got,
Yeah.
where we talked about the scenes inside of the sewers, even the scene that we both hate, where you
Yeah.
see the whole scene through the sewer opening. Like, even that from a camera work standpoint is kind of interesting, where they were able to, like, block it out where it's like, okay, you're gonna have to move here so that we can actually see you within this little hole. Like, there's things like that that I think are interesting there, even in the worst scenes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the kill that I was talking about where they flick the light on, uh, and even towards the end of the film where you get the town descending into this grinder and everybody's
Mm-hmm.
coming together and there's this, the caravan of vehicles, and even the last shots of the film where she's vanquished the evil, and just like in 1978 where it shows shots of the house, it's showing it in the light now, where now the
Yes.
darkness is like there's cool visual storytelling there that I think they do a pretty good job with.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not as stand out or as impressive as the previous 2 efforts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can totally agree with that. That's well said. Um, all right, so that was 10, man. We got through 10. I'll jump back to the chat, but just to remind folks, if you just stepped in, we graded 10 categories, and I think it was a mixed bag. There were some that definitely worked to the disadvantage of this film, but that's because there's a lot of areas where I think it fell short. A good try, but it fell short. But we went through the directing, the story, Michael Myers himself, the final girl, the characters, the mask, the it factor, the sound design, the atmosphere, and the cinematography. So, yeah, pretty well rounded, and some interesting scores there. Now, real quick to the chat as we wind down here. We got Dark Ninja in the house. What's up, man? Good to see you. Saying the mask is a 5. All right.
Mm,
Yeah. I do like the mask. It's just I'm just glad we got a good mask in these movies. That's the big thing for me.
yeah.
Uh Disney nerd coming in again with a super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. Seriously, it definitely helps us out. Saying, what's y'all's favorite horror film of the year? Wow, for me, it's Late Night with the Devil. I have it in my top 5 films of the year. Absolutely loved it. Wow. Well, Well, Cody, I'll let you go first with that. What would you say is your favorite of the year so far?
My favorite movie of the year, period, so far is Abigail. I just absolutely loved Abigail. I saw it at the
Mm,
Overlook Film Festival at its premiere, and
mm-hmm.
it's a movie that I've rewatched 3 times since,
Mm,
and I just have an absolute blast with it. Like, for somebody who's, second favorite horror film of all time is Lost Boys, it just taps
yeah.
kind of into that vibe for me, just that fun, uh, zany, great characters, a lot of great humor, and tons of gore and blood. It just I have an absolute blast with that film. It's the most fun I've had in the theater all year.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. What a
Mm,
cast. I mean, they were awesome together.
yeah.
I had so much fun with that too. I was so surprised though that it didn't really hit hard in the theater, with the box office, but
Yeah, I
I thought
was
it was
too.
I thought it was fun, man. It
Mhm,
checked all the boxes for me.
mhm.
Um, Thank you so much, Disney Nerd. We appreciate that. And that was a great question. For me, I it's so tough, man. I've enjoyed a lot. I did enjoy Abigail. But I might have to, God, Late Night was great. But I don't know, man. The First Omen, that was there is some stuff in there when a certain scene happened, and I'm sure most people that have seen it know what I'm talking about. When a certain scene happened, I was just like, what the actual, yeah, yeah, I was like, what? And you could hear people in the audience like, what is that? What? So
Mhm.
it was a fun experience, and sometimes that definitely kind of gives you your feeling on the film overall. So I might lean towards the First Omen, which I was so surprised. I totally did not expect for that movie to be as enjoyed as it was. But yeah, I think I'll lean towards that, man. Good question. Good question. All right. Let's see. T Parker, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well, man. And thank you so much, Paula. Much appreciated. Renee saying best final girl, Ripley. I think she means Ripley.
Ooh,
Ripley's
party foul.
awesome.
Yeah.
Ripley is awesome. What do you think of that, Cody?
So my favorite final girl of all time, and sometimes I get in trouble for calling her a final girl, is Sarah Connor. And
Yeah,
Ripley's a
yeah.
close second, and Sydney Prescott's a very close third.
Ooh, okay. That's a nice trilogy. I like that. That's a nice trio.
Mhm.
Very cool. And Sarah, thank you for putting the playlist for all of these streams. It's been so much fun, and it's been great to have so many awesome people joining us. Some friends like Cody, a lot of you guys, some channel members. Steven's been on a whole bunch. My brother Steven, Lee from Drum Dums. All of you guys, thank you so much for making this. This has been such a fun series to do, and yeah, it's been crazy, man. It's been absolutely crazy. May's got a channel member anniversary. Thank you so much, May. 16 months. Seems like it was only like not yesterday, but maybe like a couple months ago. But thank you so much, Mayanne, saying hello, Night Watch, fam, and Cody. Love when you join the streams. Fantastic duo.
Yeah.
Thanks, May. You're so sweet. Uh, my brother Neil, what's up from Neon Black Reviews, another great content creator. 11 months, bro. And to be quite honest, Neil's been awesome and a supporter and a good friend for way longer than that. Much love to you, brother. Thank you so much. Saying one more month for a full year, the best channel on YouTube. Jeez, yeah, okay. Thanks, man. Seriously, you're all right. You really, really are. I appreciate you. Much love. Okay. Well, for the rest of you guys that are jumping in, please check out the replay. We got Jack that jumped in. What's up, Jack? Good to see you. We got some other channel members in here. Sarah and Julie are still holding it down with the chat, putting in Cody's links and stuff, which has been really cool. Thank you guys. We got some new folks in here. We couldn't get to everybody, but like I said, if you can, definitely check out our other streams. Leave some comments. We can continue the conversation there or on social media. Um, Johnny said, this is interesting. The great thing about these kinds of movies in the franchise is a little something for everyone. And that's a good thing. In their own way, everybody wins. Everyone wins. That's an interesting way to put it. I like that.
And
I
everybody
like that.
loses.
So, yeah, there's some people that definitely feel that way. I've heard some people say this is the worst horror franchise. So it's like, I don't know about that. I think Amityville could give it a run, or
Oh yeah,
you
there's
know.
a half a dozen of them that could easily beat out Halloween.
Absolutely, man. Well, look, guys, we're gonna get ready to end this. Cody, I just want to say here live, we'll talk backstage for a quick second once I end the stream. But seriously, man, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. When I was thinking of the day I was going to do ends, I wasn't sure because um, I had a big appointment yesterday. But when I realized I was going to do it on Tuesday, I knew I wanted to try to get you on it. And seriously, I know it was short notice, but thank you so much for jumping on here and giving some really good takes, bro. Like I knew you would. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
Seriously.
no problem. Thank you for the invite. It's always fun.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm glad that it is, and we'll see what we do at some point down the road. So for you guys here, thank you so much. Leave a comment. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to Cody, and we will catch you guys later. And as always, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.